The day we met, we got the license. In the blink of an eye I turned into the CEO's wife, the kind who gets 50 grand pocket money every month. I stared at the 2 red booklets in the drawer and laughed out loud. Who could have guessed that a few weeks ago I was living like Wang Baochuan, guarding that cold kiln for 18 years? Overnight I had shapeshifted into the Prime Minister's third daughter. The thought sent me laughing again as I flopped onto the bed. The marriage certificate was stamped at 1:14 p.m. My resignation hit the inbox at 1:55 p.m. The extra 40 minutes were spent in traffic, not a single minute wasted. I picked up my phone and saw the balance, 50 grand in my account. My heart bloomed like fireworks. This month's allowance from hubby. 50 grand. 1 month. I could basically lie flat and still live like royalty. I sprang up like a jack-in-the-box. If I've got this much cash, why not go shopping? I marched into Eastbrook, beelined for the luxury wing, and gave myself a full-body upgrade. Maybe it was the way I used to dress, like someone who couldn't afford the air I breathed, because at first the associates wouldn't even look at me. Then I flashed my phone screen, showed them today's spending limit, and suddenly they were fighting to carry my bags. Ah, the might of capital, the magic of money. I shopped until the mall dimmed its lights, then finally floated out. On the ride home I bumped into my brand new, zero-cost CEO, Emery, chairman of Sterling. Young, brilliant, inherited the empire and doubled its value in a few short years. Why do I call him CEO when he's technically chairman? Because every alpha CEO novel does it, and I'm a sucker for those. Always dreamed of becoming a trophy wife. Dreams do come true. Hi. I felt awkward that he'd caught me buried in shopping bags and instinctively tried to hide them behind my back. Hi. He looked startled, then took the bags from my hands. Next time call Zane, he'll drive you home. I scratched my head. Zane's your secretary. My little shopping spree isn't worth troubling him. His face was unreadable, and I couldn't guess his mood. I suddenly remembered a line from Empresses in the Palace: hide joy and anger alike, let no one read your heart. Movers and shakers, every one of them. Inside, I reached to help him off with his coat, picturing the classic scene of a trophy greeting her king, but he sidestepped my hands. I watched him change into slippers, line his leather shoes perfectly in the rack, and straighten the pair I'd kicked off carelessly. The CEO had put in a full day, he shouldn't be doing this. I flashed my brightest 8-tooth smile, pure golden retriever energy. I'll handle that next time. It's fine. I thought you weren't dining in tonight. It's too late to cook, you must be starving. I reached for the shopping bags, but he'd already carried them to the walk-in closet. No need to cook, Wade's off today. He moved to the sofa, tossed his phone onto the coffee table, and sank into the cushions like he wanted the leather to swallow him whole. I studied his face, smooth, pale, chiseled, brows thick, nose straight, lips sculpted, and wondered which window God had bothered to close for him. When I didn't answer, he tilted his head. What's on your mind? Oh, nothing. What would you like to eat? I edged to the farthest cushion, grabbed the remote, and pretended to hunt for a show. What do you usually eat? Or, what do you like? His voice came from right beside me. I wasn't about to confess that my greatest joy is 3-pack on sale for $19.99 and every flavor of instant ramen known to man. I'll make noodles. Time for this trophy to show the Silver Spoon CEO what real food tastes like. Win a man's heart through his stomach, right? I pictured myself setting the bowl before him. He'd take one bite, eyes sparkling, and declare, such flavor exists on earth? Emery would be hopelessly hooked. Grinning, I headed for the chef's kitchen only to hear him call after me. Let's order takeout. A thunderbolt cracked over my head. No cooking? How am I supposed to conquer him? You've had a long day, we'll get delivery, he added. He was thinking of me. How thoughtful. In every contract marriage novel, love blooms after the vows. Maybe Emery was already falling. I hear the crab roe noodles from Crab Tower are amazing. Interested? Extremely. I was practically drooling. Talking to Emery made me feel like I'd misplaced half my brain cells, but then again, yesterday I was eating ramen in a shared flat above a fish market, and tonight I'm in a clifftop mansion ordering crab noodles. Different planets. Life got so comfortable I blinked and half a year had vanished. Every night Emery came home sometimes late, but he never stayed out and we treated each other with cool courtesy. The 50 grand allowance arrived the first of each month like clockwork, plus random shopping subsidies, meal stipends, heatwave bonuses, and cold front comfort payments. Money really is miraculous. Ma'am, could you take the CEO his bento box tomorrow? I paused my drama. Something up? Emery almost never eats takeout, and his schedule rarely leaves room for a sit-down lunch. Usually Wade drops it at Sterling HQ, or Zane swings by to collect it. No reason for me to get involved. My son's proposing tomorrow, he wants both sets of parents there. The CEO and Zane will be tied up with the launch, so. Wade looked sheepish. I waved it off. How hard could it be? And if Emery was in a good mood, maybe another wire transfer would magically appear. That's wonderful, Wade. When they set the wedding date, save us 2 seats at the banquet. I beamed. Take a couple of days off, let the families bond. No, just tomorrow is plenty. Wade waved her hands hurriedly. You'll be running around all day tomorrow, and you barely take vacations. Sleep in a couple more days, no big deal. I figured Emery wasn't that unreasonable, he'd said himself I could call the shots at home. Wade, I'm craving your osmanthus cakes. I grinned at her. My words melted her last objection. Thank you, ma'am. I'll bake them right away. The next morning I trotted into Sterling hugging a bento box. The instant I stepped through the doors I hit a turnstile demanding an ID swipe or facial scan. I hunted down the receptionist. Hi, could you badge me in? You're not staff? She looked me up and down. Nope. I'm here to see someone. Which department, what name, and why didn't you call him to come get you? She frowned. Remembering Emery and I were keeping the marriage secret, I fibbed, I'm delivering lunch to Sterling. Isn't that Wade's job? As far as I know she's the only one who ever brings his meals. She sounded skeptical. Wade's off today, so she asked me to cover. You know the head count at his house been invited over, have you? Stop lying. You're casing the place, hoping to hook Sterling. She beckoned security. Escort her out. Security grabbed my jacket and flung me backward. The bento box flew. Crap definitely spilled. I scrambled to retrieve it, dusted the bag, and found not a drop had leaked. Worth every penny, rugged little thing. People whispered and pointed. Through the glass I caught the receptionist and security smirking. Fury blazed in my chest. Whatever, speed dial Emery. He picked up at once. Hey, what's wrong? His voice doused half my anger. I'm downstairs with your lunch. They won't let me up. A short pause. Coming now. I waited, already savoring their impending embarrassment. He strode out seconds later, worry lining his face. Why stand outside? It's freezing. Since you asked, the receptionist didn't believe I was your lunch courier. She said. I paused for effect. Said what? Emery's brows knit. That I was trying to seduce you. I let my eyes mist. Then security tossed me. Lucky the bento didn't spill. His jaw tightened. Shrugging off his coat, he draped it over me. Inside first, we'll check for bruises. He tucked me against him and marched back in. The instant we crossed the threshold I tasted the receptionist's and security's panic delicious. I've got the CEO in my corner, bullies. Try me. Both of you, clear out your desks, Emery snapped. HR will give 3 months severance. Insulting and manhandling a guest is gross misconduct. So hot. So ruthless. I tugged his sleeve. Maybe dock a month's pay? I'm fine, really. Someone's gotta play the gracious angel. He didn't glance down. Reasons been given. Sterling won't tolerate that behavior. The doors sighed shut behind us, and I gaped. His personal office swallowed the entire floor, decor straight out of a design Bible. The gap between us mere mortals and gods. For the next 2 days I kept bringing his meals. Thanks to the firing heard round the lobby, every employee greeted me like royalty, awkward but kinda nice. Today, after he polished off the last bite, I packed the bento. Aren't you curious why I've turned into your personal delivery girl? Wade already told me. And you're not going to ask? I pouted. Home is your domain. I back you 100%. Heat rushed to my cheeks. Old me would have slapped herself for cooking for a guy, but the allowance he slips me is 50 grand a pop. Only a fool says no to free money. That evening Emery came home early while I was stuffing my suitcase. I froze. Oh, I'm heading back to Seabridge tomorrow. Might be gone a while. Perfect timing since Wade's back. Leaning on the doorframe, he watched me. Thought you'd sworn never to return. I forced a smile and stayed quiet. What for? He asked at last. I decided to come clean. Buying a house and a plot. A plot? Yeah, you know, for Mom. He nodded and walked out. Moments later 2 transfers hit my phone, one for the house, one for the grave. Getting showered in cash feels absurdly good. Honestly, Emery and I should inhabit different universes. Our outlooks and bank balances orbit galaxies apart. But we'd been classmates from Riverside through senior year. One night, trudging home from my shift, I spotted him on the gloomy sidewalk, 6'3" in a razor-pressed suit, impossibly out of place. I recognized him instantly, pretended I hadn't, and tried to speed walk past. He spoke. Taylor. I spun with theatrical surprise. Emery? What are you doing here? He saw through me instantly. Need a favor. Rich as Croesus. Emery needed help from me? Let me guess, your empire imploded and you need a loan? I can spare a little. Give me your account number and we'll head to the bank. Suddenly he laughed. I want you to marry me. I froze. Years had passed since we last met, and within 3 sentences the trust fund prince was proposing. Straight out of a soap opera script, novel-worthy material. 5 back in Seabridge, I booked the most expensive hotel and checked into the presidential suite. The manager himself met me at the door and carried my luggage. Money really does feel good. I toured a few downtown condos and finally sealed the deal on a high-end building. Between Emery's house fund and the tiny bit I kicked in, I paid cash in full. After days of running around, the apartment was finally mine. Next item, the cemetery plot. Before I left, Emery had already picked a spot for Mom. I only had to sign the papers. Once everything was done, I rushed back without telling him. When he came home that night and saw me, he blinked in surprise. Back so soon? Finished, so I came home. It's cozier here. At dinner Emery asked Wade to cook every dish I loved. I had to admit, by any measure he was a perfect husband. Life slid back into its groove. One afternoon I was shopping downtown, heading to a spa for a massage. I stepped into the private elevator and ran straight into an old acquaintance, my arch-nemesis, Briar. Taylor? She clearly recognized me. What are you doing here? I pressed my floor button. Same as you being here. She swallowed the retort, then shot back, I belong here because I have money. You? Living on instant ramen here to work the cash register? I'd heard it all before, every jab they threw when I was broke. You sure care about me. Sorry to disappoint, but I'm doing great, 7-figure income. Oh, and that arrogant jerk you snagged? Treasure him. I upgraded, taller, hotter, and infinitely better in every way. My CEO. I let the word husband hang heavy in the air. Lucky for me she stole the loser, otherwise I'd never have met my CEO. The elevator doors opened. I sashayed out without a backward glance and enjoyed the massage. Briar's face was green. 6 after dinner I was in the great room watching TV. The screen flashed a business bulletin, Titan Victor announcing his retirement and the appointment of his son Grant as acting chairman. I hurled the remote at the screen. Emery rushed in at the crash. What happened? I need to tell you something. I took his hand to the private study and produced an encrypted flash drive. Are you certain? He didn't touch it, he just looked at me. This was my promise. I won't regret it. I stared at the flash drive. People like that don't deserve regret. He was quiet for a moment. Stella, they're the only blood you have left. Are you absolutely sure? After Mom died, I had no family. Tears spilled. Emery pulled me close and patted my back. You have me. Victor was my father, Grant and Briar my half-siblings. Mom had pulled strings so Victor could rise in the industry, but when the company imploded he shoved all blame onto her. Publicly he swore he knew nothing, the contracts bore only her signature, leaving her voiceless. Then I learned about Grant and Briar. Dad had married Mom for her connections while raising another family outside. I couldn't even tell who the real mistress was. The revelation broke Mom. Under the double blow, she took her own life. After the funeral I changed my surname to hers. I loathe the Hawthorns, I refused to carry their name. Months later I was eating breakfast after Emery left for the office. A message from him popped up, check the news. I opened the trending tabloid feed and saw 3 red downfall tags. 1. Hawthorne Group shutters all subsidiaries. 2. Hawthorne Empire indicted for 8-figure fraud. 3. Grant not Victor's biological son. I skimmed the headlines, closed the app, and texted Emery, ha 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 ha. Justice tasted sweet, breakfast had never been better. Wade came out of the chef's kitchen and caught me grinning. Why the laughter? Won the lottery. How much? Just then Emery transferred a sum. I laughed harder. Not much, just 50 grand. Wade muttered that every bit counts and went back to work. That night Emery came home smiling. What's the good mood? He shrugged. I feel lighter now, less tense. He sat beside me. This feels right. My pulse spiked, heat rushed through me. I deflected. Let's eat. Okay. 7. I thought with the scandal settled I'd slip back into a cushy routine, but life soon introduced a new character. 5 p.m, be at the address I'll send. I almost ignored it as spam until 5:30 when my phone rang. Turns out the script still lacked its supporting leading lady. Across from me sat a woman dripping class, intellect, and elegance, 3 words personified. I was already guessing her price to make me leave Emery. 10 million? 100 million? Was Emery even worth 100 million? Emery hid you well, yet here you are, the trust fund began. We grew up together, childhood sweethearts. I don't understand why he married you. Even if he doesn't love me, it shouldn't be you. Pure heartsick ingenue. I smiled. That's where you're wrong. There's a reason he married me. Trust fund eyed me suspiciously, sizing me up from head to toe. What's the reason? Venmo me $50, show me you're serious. I pulled out my phone, opened my QR code, and placed it on the table. Fine. The woman muttered, but she still picked up her phone and transferred the money without hesitation. Now I was the one who felt puzzled. She didn't look especially bright. All right, check it, she said, flashing me the screen. Diagnosis, textbook blonde. The insult I'd loaded got stuck in my throat. Haven't you read a single billionaire romance novel? You know the clichés. Childhood sweethearts never end up together. What do you mean? Blonde bristled instantly. Hey, chill, let me finish. Do you know why the childhood friend trope always crashes? She gave a confused little hum. I leaned in, staring straight into her Disney princess eyes. Because there's no spark. If he felt anything, no outsider could wedge in. You've known him forever and nothing's happened. That tells you everything. You're gorgeous, summa cum laude, trust fund royalty. Your fan club could fill a stadium. She sat there, laughed softly at first, then drifted into thought, and finally tears. But it still shouldn't be you. He could be with the girl he actually loves. Blonde sniffled. I froze. Emery was in love, with someone else? It was late when I got back. Emery was on the sectional, he stood the moment I walked in. Temperatures dropping, bundle up next time. He took my purse, knelt, and slipped the fuzzy slides under my feet. All so natural, so practiced. I remembered his offer the night he found me, marry me, hand over everything you have on Hawthorne Holdings, and I'll wipe your debts. You'll never worry about rent or ramen again. Hawthorne was Sterling's biggest rival, and their hands were filthy wage theft at construction sites, assault cover-ups, tax fraud. I'd collected the proof. Emery swore marrying him would legally make me a Sterling, and no one would dare touch me. A Sterling. Yet I hadn't met his parents, would they even acknowledge me? What are you thinking about? I'd zoned out. I turned, he was watching me. You were miles away, he said, tugging me down beside him, wrapping my hand in both of his warm, steady. Do your parents know we're married? He blinked, then smiled. I told them. We'll fly down at New Year's. I studied his face. What if they hate me? He feigned despair. Then we elope again. Deal. After that coffee shop ambush, Morgan and I became inseparable. She dragged me to sample sale Saturdays and midweek margaritas, coloring my gray life neon. Bit by bit she let me inside Emery's past. He'd grown up shielding one particular girl, only later did he recognize the feeling as love. Years he carried it through graduation, then she vanished. He searched, stayed single, everyone assumed he'd wait forever. Then, out of nowhere, he married me. Sometimes, when the city was asleep, I wondered, Hawthorne has already imploded. When he finally locates that girl, will he file for divorce? The thought stung. I told myself it was only about the money. At dinner I blurted, will we ever divorce, Emery? He set his chopsticks down. Morgan's been talking, hasn't she? I stared at my bowl, cheeks hot. So, do you know who she claims that girl is? I shook my head. You, he said simply. I jerked upright. Me? Childhood crush, disappeared after senior year check. We'd gone from Riverside to Seabridge, I'd ghosted everyone the day I left town. When I couldn't speak, he led me to the private study, hauled out a dusty box, and dialed the combination lock. Inside, a plastic dinosaur, a chipped marble, and a fat memory scrapbook. Every page was me crying on the first day of kindergarten, spaghetti-sauced at 10, scowling over calculus, painting homecoming banners. We settled on the leather sofa, his fingers laced through mine. The very first time I saw you, you were bawling outside Riverside, refusing to go in. I said, let's walk together, and you glared like I'd insulted your puppy. You remember that? I remember everything about you. Truth, I'd loved him too back when grief had painted my world black. Mom was gone, I skipped homework, skipped life. Emery was math rep, and I was failing. The other math assistants had long since given up, only he persisted. I don't get it, I'd whine. He'd illustrate problems with candy bars and roller coasters. I'm too tired. He'd drive me to the waterfront, buy me churros, then reopen the textbook. Eventually I snapped. Emery, quit babysitting me. Even my dad checked out. Why won't you? I can't, he said, voice quiet, I'm the math rep, so what? The others ditched me, let them. You're free to walk away. But he never did. I cried. It was the first time I'd let myself sob out loud since Mom died. I didn't hold back anymore, I cried right in front of Emery. He walked over and wiped the tears from my cheeks. Taylor, your mom wouldn't want to see you like this. The other math gave up on you, but I won't. Your dad gave up on you. Are you going to give up on yourself too? The more I thought about it, the more I stared at him, and suddenly I was the same girl slumped over a desk, bawling her eyes out years ago. For a second I could hear the racket of our old classroom again, Emery's voice walking me through the homework. A giggle slipped out. Actually, I liked you too back in high school. Emery pulled me into a fierce hug, lowered his head, and cradled my face. Then he kissed me, our lips locked, soft and warm. I gazed at his closed eyes for a heartbeat, then shut my own and deepened the kiss. I have no idea how we ended up in the bedroom or how I fell asleep. When I woke the next morning, he was still holding me tight. It felt perfect. After high school graduation, Grant was terrified I'd claim part of the family fortune, so he trashed my reputation every chance he got. Dad watched it all and did nothing. When I filled out my college applications, I picked a school far from Seabridge just to escape. Grant still couldn't relax, even though I never asked them for a dime. He kept sending people to hunt me down, preferably to kill me and erase the problem for good. That way the Hawthorne money would stay with the two of them, brother and sister. I refused to spend my life running. I started gathering proof of their crimes. At first I didn't even think of it, but Mom's death flipped a switch. If they'd used her as a scapegoat once, there had to be plenty more filth buried in their closets. I drifted from city to city, asking questions, piecing together evidence. When I finally had enough to put Grant behind bars, he caught on and doubled the hunt, no price too high. I kept relocating, kept hiding. That was when Emery stepped in and saved me again. If the first rescue in high school had been spiritual, this one was literal. I thought it would end once Grant was locked up. Then a text landed on my phone: tomorrow, 2 p.m. at Seabridge. I know your mom's secret. My mom's secret? I was skeptical, but she's always been my soft spot. I went. I hailed a cab and headed straight for the dock. The driver kept glancing at me in the rearview mirror. I was too preoccupied to care. When we reached Seabridge, I tried to get out, but the door wouldn't open. I yelled for him to unlock it. He acted deaf. Panic flared. I grabbed my phone to call for help. Just then several men walked toward the car. The driver finally popped the lock. I bolted and a huge hand clamped over my mouth and nose, shoving me into a waiting van before I could even fight back. They hooded me, crammed a rag between my teeth, and tossed me into the trunk. I swallowed the pain and tried to plan an escape. That cabbie was definitely in on it. The text had to be the bait. Who knew about my mom? Before I could puzzle it out, the van screeched to a stop. Two guys hauled me out and marched me forward, then tied me to a chair. When the hood came off, sea spray stung my eyes. I recognized the woman in front of me, Briar. The scheme snapped into focus. There was no secret. They'd lured me here. Briar glared, then broke into a brittle laugh. Taylor, you locked my brother up and thought you'd keep breathing easy? Your deadbeat dad ditched you, but you blame us? She didn't even flinch. If they hadn't tormented me at home and sent hitmen after I left, none of this would have happened. My mouth was still packed with cloth. I tried to spit it out, useless. Briar yanked the gag free. You're about to die. Any last words? I'll be sure to deliver them to your loving hubby. My brother's fall wasn't a solo job by you, right? I hear he's crazy about you. How's he going to feel when you're fish food? And your mom, ha 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 ha, what an idiot, killing herself like that. I spat in her face. Don't you dare talk about my mom. You people killed her. Your brother's sentence was just the down payment. Briar lunged and locked her hands around my throat. I was choking when sirens wailed in the distance. She froze. Taylor, did you call the cops? I stayed silent. The siren grew louder, the thugs she'd brought scattered. Briar screamed after them, useless cowards. I stared up at her, cold contempt in my eyes. Detectives are here. Ready to surrender? She fumbled with the ropes, yanked me to my feet, and dragged me toward the water. I've been terrified of drowning since childhood. I've never even set foot in a pool. She knew it and planned to use it. The sight of the deepening waves almost blacked me out. I struggled, but my wrists were tied and she was stronger. Nobody wins, Taylor. If I'm going down, you're coming with me. Police cars skidded onto the pier. Emery and several detectives jumped out. The water rose to my neck. Emery sprinted toward me, the detectives right behind. I was rescued. Breyer was cuffed. I lay unconscious for 24 hours, drifting through dreams. In them I saw Emery the way he looked at 16, brilliant, fearless. I hid in a pitch-black room and watched him from afar. Gradually the boy in the dream grew into the man he is now. He stepped into the darkness, found me, pulled me into the light, and smiled. I'm here.